Hi people, Moinawi from back here again as always. As you can tell from the header, I'm going to do another astrology video or an astrological video. This time it's going to be on astrology and career. I've already done several others, such as astrology and health, astrology and mental illness, and it just goes on and on and on. So yeah, using my own chart, my own natal chart as an example, I'm going to discuss astrology and one's career. So let's just dive right in. The houses that deal with one's career, specifically work related, are the sixth house and the 10th house. The sixth house, which is ruled by Virgo, so Virgo, and therefore also obviously by Mercury, the planet Mercury, deals with working conditions and circumstances. Whereas the 10th house deals with your career, specifically your ambitions and how how much you'll accomplish if you aim at a career. Specifically, of course, most people, all if not most people, aim to be in some kind of authoritarian position where they essentially have people below them career wise, and it just goes on. That's the 10th house. The 10th house is ruled by Capricorn and therefore by Saturn as the traditional ruler of Capricorn. Now, generally speaking, if planets, doesn't matter which planet it is, has negative aspects to the midheaven. The midheaven is the arrow pointing in the sky, which rules the 10th house, or to the sixth house cusp. That's the line that emphasizes rulership over the sixth house. That will spell negative news. For example, someone that has Uranus negatively aspected to the sixth house, for example. Remember what I told you, okay? Uranus aspected negatively to the sixth house cusp. Um, then, generally speaking, the person will have erratic employment. Will just have plain erratic employment. That means that the person will work a lot of different jobs, and it will be a jumping, going back and forth in between jobs, a constant shifting of employment and of places of employment. Okay, because Uranus in general stands for erraticness on a negative note. And if it's negatively aspected, then yeah. If Uranus is negatively aspected to the midheaven, for example, which rules over the 10th house, then it would stand for having, in the long run, having an erratic career, a career with a lot of changes. Okay, bear in mind that career and work are not literally one and the same. Like I said, work simply stands for your working conditions and circumstances on a day-to-day basis, but your career stands for longevity. It stands for what you do for a living and where you have made notable or noteworthy accomplishments. That's what I mean. Now, take me for example. Okay, my chart is a good example to bring this point home or to drive this point home. I have the moon, which is 13 degrees in Aries, and the moon is opposed midheaven. 21 minus 13 equals 8. Yeah, just ignore you, cut me off. Yeah, it opposes the midheaven. That means that generally speaking, I do not get along well with authority figures, specifically regarding my career, which is true. Before I was an occultist and I did my own thing, and I worked regular jobs, you would have a really hard time finding any kind of department head or CEO that liked me. I did not get along well with anybody that you can consider an authority figure, whether it be police officers, anyone. People had a natural semi disdain for me. And I was always seen as an annoying employee that asks too many questions and blah, blah, blah. Of course, that was due to me being so rebellious and due to me not, due to me standing up for myself and not taking crap from anyone, as opposed to my other employees, which were generally speaking doormats. No offense to them. The places I worked at were dead end places, honestly. These were deadbeat jobs or deadbeat forms of employment without any kind of futuristic prospects or anything like that. That's also why the moon is in Aries, okay? It stands for aggression, it stands for strife overall, not getting along well with the aforementioned. Now, you're seeing that the moon here is positively aspected to the sixth house. 18 in Gemini, 13 in Aries. It's an orb of 5, so a distance of 5 degrees. It officially counts as a positive aspect, so a sextile. That means, within the context of this specific placement, it simply stands for the fact that On a day-to-day basis, I was really good at what I did. I was good at my job, albeit it took me a while to get things up and running. That's why the moon is in Aries. This specific degree, even, I know what it means. 13 stands for trial. So within this specific context, and that's also what the sixth house here is ruled by 18 in Gemini. So putting all of that information together, the general gist is that I was on a day-to-day basis really good at what I did career-wise, so job-wise, in terms of working conditions and circumstances. But it took me a while. That's what the moon being 13 degrees in Aries stands for. It took me a while to get things up and running, if you will, quote unquote, up and running, which I do recall vividly almost. Generally speaking, every place that I worked at, I had a really tough time in the beginning. I had to adjust to the entire work environment. I had to get used to my colleagues and everything. But once I got into the flow of things, into the rhythm of things, I could easily, to me, work was nothing more than a formality. I could do it by impulse. I was really good at what I did, regardless of what I did. Um, the fact that I was, let me see, the fact that I was promoted at least once speaks for that. And bear in mind, a promotion in a hostile environment, such as the places I worked at, says a lot. That means that you're really, really good at what you do. And the moon is also sextile the second house as a sideline here, ruled by 15 degrees in Aquarius, which stands for the fact that you made a decent amount of money doing so. Nothing great, but still a decent amount of money. Let's just say more than the average, or what the average person earned. But see what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. Bear in mind, the sixth house that Mercury rules over, specifically the zodiac sign Virgo, deals with working conditions and circumstances. The 10th house deals with your career overall, as well as being subject to, as well as you yourself being an authority figure. So that's what you need to think about. Okay. The 10th house deals with lawyers, judges, anybody that quote unquote calls the shots. Law enforcement, it just goes on. Anybody that finds himself in a position where they can dictate terms to someone else, where they have someone that is subject to them, and people that strive towards tremendous gains or making tremendous gains in their career, obviously want to be in such a position where they can also quote unquote call the shots and boss people around. So, like I said, any positive aspect to the midheaven or to just plain midheaven will do well. Okay. Jupiter is, for example, positively aspected to the midheaven means that the person will do well in his or her career. The kind of planet simply denotes how, honestly. Jupiter stands for essentially an abundance, generally speaking. So, Jupiter positively aspected to the 10th house, to the midheaven, and vice versa, stands for having a lot of success career wise and being a quote unquote big shot. Saturn being positively aspected stands for an authority figure that is disciplined, someone that does not mess around and that just takes care of business. Mars aspected to midheaven stands for someone that has an aggressive approach to things, someone that really has someone that is more prone to fulfill a leadership position or role in something that has martial appeal. Think of the military, anything that has to do with the armed forces. Um, Venus has to do with, if Venus is positively aspect, it stands for some fact that it would stand for the fact that someone has a career and the person is gentle about it. Depending on Venus's aspects, provided that Venus isn't afflicted by any other thing, the same goes as well for any other, for all the other aforementioned planets that I've brought to light so far. It stands for the same thing, okay? Someone that is graceful, someone that is kind, someone that has a soft and gentle touch, a firm but yet gentle touch when it comes to being an authority figure. Think of a lawyer that is pleasant and yet, or a CEO that is pleasant. So, not someone that breathes down your neck and yet can still put his or her foot down when need be. Uh, and last but not least, Pluto, for example. If Pluto was conjunct midheaven, Pluto is not conjunct midheaven for me, but if it was conjunct midheaven, then it would simply stand for me having quote unquote rulership over a lot of people. Essentially, me, uh, for example, having being the CEO of a company with like 1,000 people underneath me or beneath me. That's what I mean. Whereas in my chart, I've already mentioned that in an earlier video. My Pluto here in Scorpio simply stands for the fact that I have ridiculously strong ambitions, and I, generally speaking, will stop at nothing to accomplish those ambitions. And that's one of the main reasons why I am where I am today. In any case, so yeah, that's all regarding to in relation to work and career. Bye, guys. Until next time. If you've got any other questions, then I'll hear it. Bye bye.